Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining me. Today we will be stretching. So instead of a full yoga practice, today we're just going to focus on stretching and stretching the upper body. So we're not even really going to spend time with the spine or the legs, the lower half. It's really just going to be focusing on stretching the upper half of the body, mostly shoulders, neck, arms, things like that. For those days where you just really need to move those spaces. So I hope that this video can help you with that. So you don't need anything. We're gonna be seated for most of this. So just find a comfortable seat. So we'll just get started. So come to a comfortable seat. You can sit however you wanna sit. Maybe you sit on something. Take a comfortable seat. And even though I know I said we're not doing a full yoga practice, it still always helps to do just a little bit of centering before you're doing something physical. So really getting into your body before you ask your body to do things. Maybe you have your eyes open, maybe you have your eyes closed, but let's take just a few deep breaths here. Maybe you take belly breaths, maybe not. Maybe you lengthen your breath, maybe you come to ujjayi breaths, but just take a few thoughtful, very conscious breaths. Stay for a few moments, focusing on your breath. So as you tap into your breath, breathing however makes sense for you, whatever breathing pattern you feel called to do, just stay with it. Keep that focus on your breath. Think about maybe slowing down the breath. Slowing everything down so we can really turn inward. Whatever breathing pattern you're moving through, stay with it for 3 more breaths. And then slowly return back to your natural breath. Breathe naturally. Notice how you feel. And then if your eyes are closed, slowly allow them to flutter open. So now let's start to move a little bit. So we'll start very gently with the neck. We'll start with some neck circles. So lengthen up through the crown of the head. Just because we're going to be moving the neck doesn't mean that the rest of the spine sort of gets like a free pass, right? So lengthen up through the spine. Relax the shoulders. Let the arms rest wherever's comfortable. And we'll start with small movements through the head and the neck. So think about the crown of your head tracing a circle up overhead on the ceiling. Imagine that there was sort of a laser pointer on the top of your head and you're making a small circle. Just pick one direction and stay with this direction, making small circles, small and slow circles. And then keeping the circles slow, you might make the circles larger. So imagine the crown of your head is tracing a spiral up on the ceiling, up overhead. So the circle is getting larger with every rotation, gradually increasing the size of the circle. Now, when the circles start to get really large, you might notice sound effects, clicking, popping, snapping, cracking, things like that. Now, the jury is still out on are those sounds harmful or, you know, benign? So I would say just make the circle a little smaller. Avoid those sound effects if possible. Okay, now the next time your chin comes down towards the center of your chest, down by your collarbones, just let your head hang forward in the front. So you're sort of looking down towards your belly. Stay for a breath. And then reverse the direction of the circle. Now start with large circles. Make the circles large, but again, not so large that you're experiencing sound effects. So if that's the case, and that's the case in my own body, there's a lot of clicking and snapping and popping, just make the circle a little smaller. And again, those sound effects, it's sort of undetermined still what the result of those is. So I like to just err on the side of caution, but you're welcome to do what you need, do what you like. Now eventually start to make these circles smaller. Start to rein it in a little bit. So now the crown of your head is tracing a spiral, but going in, gradually decreasing the size of the circle with each rotation. Maintain length through the rest of the spine. Relax the shoulders. Softly and slowly move the head and the neck, and then eventually return the head and the neck all the way back to the center, back to neutral, back to stillness. And once you're there, reach the crown of the head up. Soften the shoulders, take a deep breath. Okay, all right, now let's move through the shoulders a little bit. So let's just start with some circles here. So here with the shoulders, rolling the shoulders up and around, coming up, down, and around. Same thing, let's just pick one direction, stay with it for a while. Make really large circles. Now you know you can do one arm at a time or do them both together. But here, keep the head and the neck still. Keep the spine still. Move the shoulders and arms. And go in this direction about 1 or 2 more times. And then reverse the direction of the circles. Now as you're moving through the shoulders, relax the arms and the hands, the fingers as best you can. Soften throat, neck, and jaw. Keep the spine still and long. Do about 1 or 2 more here with your shoulders, just like this. Okay, and then let the shoulders relax. Now let's reach the arms behind us. So here you've got a few options. You can just reach your arms behind you, reaching your fingertips back, not even resting your fingertips on anything. If that's the case, have the palms face together. Another option is to bring your fingertips down onto the ground or onto something, using your arms as leverage, pushing into the floor to lift your chest. Another option is to clasp your hands, interlace your fingers. If you do that, keep the palms together. Instead of letting that palms separate, keep the palms together. And from wherever you're at, reach back. So maybe you're reaching your fingertips, maybe your fingertips are touching the ground, or maybe you're reaching with your knuckles. But reach down and back, lift your chest up. Pull your heart forward, broaden through your collarbones, expand through the chest like you're wearing a necklace you're really proud of and you're trying to show it off. Now keep reaching your arms back, lifting the chest, relax the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe you allow the chin to come away from the chest and you start to look up just a little bit. But feel that opening in the front of the chest and shoulders. Let's stay for 1 more breath. Okay, if your fingers aren't already interlaced, bring them together. So bring the hands together, interlace the fingers, bring the palms together. Now, bend at your elbows so that your hands come around by the right side of your body. So it's like you're drawing the left hand by your right waist. Your hand might not actually come all the way around to the side. It might be sort of in the back. That's okay. That's all right. But we want to deepen the stretch in this left side. So we want to let the left shoulder drop away from the ear, draw it down and back, and keep the left forearm and the left arm in tight alongside the body. So it should be resting on the back side of your body. And this right elbow, you might draw it in and back, but again, relax the shoulders, lift the chest. Now you should be feeling a little bit of a stretch here through the left shoulder, the front of the shoulder especially. We can add a little bit into it with the neck by letting the right ear drop towards the right shoulder. So just letting the head fall over to the right side. Now keep the arms as they are, keep the shoulders relaxed. Make sure that you're not pushing your belly forward. Your spine is in neutral. Okay, and then just let the head drop and fall as it feels heavy over to the side. You might keep your head still, maybe you move around a little bit, really try to find a stretch that feels really good, and then stay with it. Just let the head fall, and let's take 3 breaths right here. And then very slowly return the head and the neck back to the center, crown of the head reaching right up towards the ceiling. Lengthen the arms back, reach your knuckles back, really lift the chest, inhale, exhale, switch sides. Bend the elbows so that your arms come by the left side of your waist. So it's like the back of the right hand is resting along the outside of the left waist. Again, knuckles might not come all the way around, hand might not come all the way around, that's okay. But relax the shoulders. Make sure that this right shoulder is comfortable. Keep the elbow and the forearm in tight alongside the body. But as you're pushing the elbow and making sure that it's resting against the spine and the back side of the body, make sure you're not pushing actually into the body, because then you're gonna draw the ribs forward. Draw the ribs in. Lengthen the spine, relax the shoulders. You absolutely could stay here, focus on the front of your right shoulder, or let your head drop over to the left. Let the left ear fall over towards the left shoulder. Let the head feel heavy, let it relax. You're not pushing, you're not forcing, you're letting it fall. Now again, keep relaxing the shoulders, lengthening up, lift the chest. The spine is in neutral with the exception of the neck. And then maybe in the neck, you move around a little bit. Wherever the head landed, you don't have to stay right there. Maybe you move, take just small adjustments. Find the spot where there's a really good stretch happening for you and stay with it. Let's stay here for 3 more breaths. Inhale, slowly return the head and the neck back to the center, crown of the head up to the sky. Slowly lengthen the arms back, reach your knuckles back behind you, power through the arms, reach the knuckles, lift the chest, inhale, exhale, release, let the hands release and rest back on your legs. You might need to sort of wiggle the fingers, move around through the wrists. Okay. All right, so all of that we were opening through the front of the chest. Let's now open through the back. Okay, so we'll reach the arms out in opposite directions. Maybe you change the cross of your legs. I like to do that every once in a while. Reach the arms out in opposite directions. Relax the shoulders. Lengthen up through the crown of the head. Inhale. Exhale, give yourself a hug by crossing the right arm over the left. Crawl your fingertips back like you're reaching for your shoulder blades. Really give yourself a hug. Even if you can't touch the shoulder blades, we're just reaching in that direction. And then let the arms lift up. Elbows will point forward instead of at the floor. Now you should feel this opening through your upper back and the backs of the shoulders. You might stay here, you might turn at your arms so that your fingers point up towards the sky. The backs of the hands might come together, the palms might come together. But either way, lift your arms up. Draw your forearms away from your chest, away from your face. Feel this opening in your upper back. Now soften shoulders away from the ears. Check in with your spine. Make sure your spine and your pelvis are in neutral. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Inhale, reach the arms out in opposite directions. Exhale, change the cross of the arms. Cross the left arm on top of the right. Give yourself a hug. Crawl your fingertips back like you're reaching for your shoulder blades. You might not touch them, that's okay, but you are consciously moving in that direction. Lift the arms away from the chest, elbows point forward. You could stay here. You might turn so that your fingertips point up. Backs of the hands together or palms, but what you're going for, what I want for you is to feel a stretch in your upper back. The space between your shoulder blades, maybe around the backs of the shoulder blades. So lift the arms away from your chest. Draw your forearms forward, away from your face. Let the shoulders relax away from the ears. Check in with the rest of the spine. Soften the throat, neck, and jaw. Take 3 breaths here. Okay, inhale, let the arms come out in opposite directions. Exhale, let them come all the way down. Let the hands rest. And maybe it feels good to just stay here. For me, it usually feels good to do a few more of those shoulder rolls. Just a couple in each direction. Okay. So something to think about when you're stretching, when you're doing yoga, when you're doing your own practice, and you've probably noticed this, that each body part, we certainly have a lot of options of how to move it, but you also can take a stretch where you're moving and a stretch where you're staying still. And which one feels better for you is just determined by your body, your habits, what you've done that day, that week, whatever. So just do what feels good. I always think it's good to sort of mix it up and do a little bit of both. But whether you want movement or stillness, really just depends on what feels good for you. So always, even just within that, take what feels good. Okay, we're gonna set up in tabletop. So let's come on into tabletop. We won't be here too long. I don't even think I'm gonna pad under my knees. I want us to do just a few rhomboid push-ups. So even though the rhomboid push-ups are work, they are meant to strengthen the rhomboids, and this routine is all stretching. A lot of times when we're doing that strength activation, it's really just about getting that body part moving though, getting it engaged and moving in a way that it typically doesn't. So that's also still very helpful for mobility, which is what a lot of people are looking for when they think of stretching. Their intention is mobility and flexibility. And so this still helps with that. Okay, so you're gonna start in tabletop. And your arms are gonna stay straight. Often when I say the term push-up, it brings this idea of bending at the elbows, bending at the elbows. The elbows are gonna stay straight, the arms are gonna stay straight. The pelvis will stay in neutral. Your belly button is pointing towards the floor, not your thighs. Belly button points at the floor, not your thighs. But here in the upper body, we're gonna let the heart sag and drop towards the floor, almost like you're shrugging your shoulders. So you let your heart, your chest, your head, and your neck drop towards the floor, but you're looking down at the space between your thumbs, and your belly button points at the mat. Now push your hands into the floor, lift your chest, reach your chest up towards the sky, lifting your face, neck, chest, heart away from the floor, but you're looking at the space between your thumbs. Your belly button points at the mat. Okay, keep moving just like this. Let the heart sag, and as your heart sags, notice that the space between your shoulder blades is a valley. Deepen that valley. Squeeze your upper back, squeeze your shoulder blades in toward each other, and then lift it up and away. Instead of a valley, create a dome. And then let the heart sag, create a valley, squeeze, get those muscles working, and then push, lift the chest, create a dome. So do just a handful more, just like this. Again, you're always looking to the space between your thumbs. Your belly button is always pointing down at the mat. So it's not like a cat and a cow. We're just moving here in the upper back. And again, this will help you strengthen these muscles, but also gets these spaces moving because they often get stuck. Okay, do one more of each, just like this. All right, and we're gonna come down onto our stomach. I am gonna bring a blanket with me because I'm gonna let my forehead rest on the blanket, but you don't need anything. Okay, so we're gonna do another movement that is also more about strengthening, but also has great benefits for posture, mobility, that sort of stuff in the shoulders and upper back. Okay, so you're gonna come down onto your stomach with your arms in goal post, palms down, elbows bent at right angles. You're welcome to let your forehead rest on the ground or something. I would prefer to keep your neck in neutral as opposed to letting one cheek rest on the ground. I'm gonna keep my head up because otherwise you won't be able to hear me if I'm talking into the mat, but I do want your neck relaxed, so rest your forehead on something. Okay, you're gonna relax the rest of your body. We're gonna start with our right arm. You're gonna keep your right elbow on the ground, but lift up your right hand, right wrist, and right forearm. Lift it up, but keep the elbow down. Hold it at the top for a second, and then slowly lower back down. Now we're gonna do the left arm. Elbow stays on the floor, but lift up the hand, the wrist, and the forearm. Lift it up, but keep the elbow down, and slowly lower down. Now we're just gonna keep moving like that, switching sides. Right arm, hand, wrist, forearm, lift, elbow stays on the ground, and slowly lower and switch. Okay, so this does take a little bit of work. It feels probably foreign and awkward and weird. That's okay. Again, that's sort of the point. You're moving your body in a way that it doesn't typically move. So then this movement becomes more comfortable, and then movements like this that you encounter through the day become more comfortable and accessible. So that's sort of the idea. So we'll do just a few more. The intention here isn't to get your muscles super tired. Again, it's just getting them moving in a way they don't typically move. So let's do 2 more each side, just like this. Keep relaxing the rest of your body, your torso, your legs. Let your forehead rest heavy. Okay. And then when you're done, just let your arms rest wherever is comfortable. So maybe alongside the body. Just let your arms and shoulders rest for a moment. Take about 2 deep breaths right where you're at. Okay. All right, now we'll take a stretch. We'll take a nice stretch for our chest and shoulders. I like to keep something under my head. I wouldn't use a block. If you were using a block for the last one, that was probably okay, but a block is going to be too high of a height now. Blanket is fine though. All right, so start on your stomach. Reaching your left arm over to the left with the palm facing down. So not in goalpost, straight out. So left fingertips point over to the left side of the room, palm down. Turn so you're looking over your right shoulder. You're looking in the opposite direction, and bring your right hand under your right shoulder, almost like you would for cobra. Push the right hand into the ground to roll your torso back, like you're pulling your torso and the front side of your body off the mat, and it's now going to face the right side of the room. Okay, so again, the hope here is a stretch in the front of the left chest and shoulder. So you're in control of this stretch. You get to determine how deep it is. So you might push your hand into the floor and roll back just a little. Maybe you keep both legs straight. I sometimes like to cross the bottom ankle under the top. Just the ankle, not the leg, but that sometimes sort of keeps things in place. You might bend the top leg, bend that knee, plant the foot down on the ground behind the bottom leg. It could come in front, but I think then you're just gonna allow your hips to come forward. We really want your hips and your belly button to be pointing to the side of the room, if not the ceiling. So if your spine and shoulders and chest all feel super duper open, maybe you bend both knees, plant both feet flat onto the ground, kneecaps point up towards the sky, and your belly button sort of kind of ever so slightly points up to the sky. That's going to be a twist in your spine. So it's not just about your upper body. Make sure everything feels good if you take that option, but know that you don't have to stay there. And there are some options where the other hand, maybe it just stays here and you sort of use it as sort of to balance, like a kickstand. Maybe you really push that hand down. Maybe that hand reaches for the other arm, noticing how that feels. But again, just take what feels good. Take what makes sense. Take a few deep breaths here. Let's take 3 more breaths. Okay, and then you can start to slowly lengthen your legs, and if your right arm was behind you, bring it in front. Lengthen the legs, and then slowly come back onto your stomach. Position your arms, your head, and your neck however and wherever is comfortable. That stretch has the potential to be really deep, so give yourself a little bit of room and just space after it. Take a few breaths. Okay, and we'll switch sides. I'm sure you can stay right where you're at. I'm just going to turn around. Well, we'll do the same thing on the second side. So now, starting on your stomach, reach your right arm over to the right with the palm facing down. The right arm is reaching directly over to the right. Right fingertips pointing to the right side of the room. Turn so you're looking over your left shoulder. Place your left hand under your left shoulder. Push your left hand down. Roll the front side of your body off your mat. And so one thing that sometimes students ask, they say like, well, my chest is in the way. Well, just move it. Just go ahead and move it. That's okay. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? Okay. So you can keep both legs straight if that feels good. Again, sometimes I like to roll the bottom ankle sort of around the top. That sort of keeps the hips in place for me. Or you might bend the top knee, plant the foot flat on the ground behind the leg. Again, in front is just going to encourage this pose to unwind. We want to allow it to deepen. And then you've got options. Maybe if everything feels really open and really loosey-goosey, Maybe you bend both knees, bottom of the feet flat on the ground. Then you're going to add something in your spine, but maybe you just want to focus on your chest and shoulders. Maybe that front arm reaches around like it's reaching for the back. Maybe that hand pushes into the floor. Maybe it just rests like a kickstand. And then rest into the stretch. Let yourself soften. Enjoy the stretch. Enjoy the opening. Let's take 3 breaths here. And then slowly start to lengthen your legs. If that top arm was reaching behind, allow it to come forward. Come back onto your stomach. Take any position that feels good. Take 1 more breath here. All right, and then bring your hands under your shoulders, push your hands into the ground, and slide back into a child's pose. Bring the big toes together. Draw the knees as wide as is comfortable. Make sure your forehead is resting on something. The arms can reach forward. Arms can be alongside the body. Do what feels good, but take some deep breaths here. Take 3 deep breaths here in this child's pose. And keeping your hands in contact with the mat. Slide your hands so your hands come under your shoulders. Push your hands into the floor to lift your torso and come up to a seat. Okay, you are all set. That's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for joining me. Of course, there are so many ways to stretch your upper body. This is just the stuff I really like. These are the movements that I find in my body and students feel the best and get into the spaces that most of us are really sort of looking for with some movement. So be creative, add things, take things out, whatever you need to do, move in a way that feels good for you. That's all I can ask. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Bye.